actionable steps you can start implementing today. I'll also be sharing personal stories and insights from my own journey, offering you a raw, honest look at how these habits truly worked for me. So, without further ado, let's dive in. Habit 1: waking up early. The first habit that completely changed my life was waking up early. Now, let me be completely transparent with you. I was never a morning person. My bed was my sanctuary, and I hit the snooze button more times than I care to admit. Mornings felt like a chaotic rush, and I often started my day with a sense of dread. But one day, I decided to give waking up early a shot, and trust me, it was a game changer. I began by setting my alarm for 5 a.m. The first few days were brutal. I dragged myself out of bed feeling groggy, wondering if this was even worth it. But I pushed through, and by the third day, something incredible happened. I began to appreciate the quiet stillness of those early morning hours. There was something almost magical about being awake while the rest of the world was still asleep. The calm peacefulness was a welcome change. With those extra morning hours, I found time for things I had never seemed to have time for before. I started my day with some light exercise, not intense, just some stretching or a short jog around the neighborhood. It not only woke me up, but energized me for the day ahead. I also spent a little time meditating, setting my intentions for the day. Those few moments of mindfulness made a massive difference in my mindset and productivity. The best part, I no longer felt rushed. I had time to enjoy a healthy breakfast, sip my coffee slowly, and actually plan my day. This unrushed start set such a positive tone for everything that followed. I was more organized, less stressed, and felt a deeper sense of control over my time. One morning stands out to me, though. It was when I watched the sun rise from my balcony. That simple yet profound moment, as the sky changed colors and the world slowly woke up, filled me with deep gratitude and peace. Now, waking up early might not be for everyone, but I highly encourage you to give it a try, even if just for a week. Start by setting your alarm just 15 minutes earlier than usual. Then gradually increase it. You might be amazed at the positive impact it can have on your life. It's not about simply having more hours in the day, but about using those hours to create a more mindful, intentional, and fulfilling start to your day. Habit 2: daily exercise. Speaking of wellness, daily exercise was habit number 2 that completely transformed my life. I wasn't always the most active person. I could come up with every excuse in the book to avoid working out. I'm too tired, I don't have time, or I'll start tomorrow. Ugh, does that sound familiar? But one day, I decided enough was enough. I made a commitment to move my body every single day for a week, and the results were incredible. I started small, just 20 minutes a day, mixing it up with yoga, jogging, and strength training. I wanted to keep it interesting, so I wouldn't get bored and quit halfway through. The first few days were tough. My muscles were sore and I felt exhausted. But I reminded myself why I was doing it: to feel better, both physically and mentally. By the 4th day, something amazing happened. I woke up feeling more energized, my mood had drastically improved, and I was less irritable. I realized those 20 minutes of exercise were not just about burning calories or building muscle. They were about giving myself time to focus on me, to release stress and boost my endorphins. One morning, I remember lacing up my sneakers for a jog. It was a crisp, clear day, and as I ran, I felt a sense of freedom and clarity I hadn't felt in ages. It was just me, the open road, and my thoughts. That feeling of connection to myself and the world around me was incredibly empowering. I started to see physical changes too. My posture improved, I felt stronger, and my overall fitness level was noticeably better. But the biggest change? It was in my mindset. Exercise became a time for me to disconnect from the world and reconnect with myself. It became self-care, not a chore. A personal highlight was trying yoga for the first time. At first, I hesitated, thinking I wasn't flexible enough or that it wouldn't be a real workout. But after just a few sessions, I fell in love with it. Yoga taught me to be present, to breathe deeply, and to listen to my body. It was a transformative experience that went far beyond the physical benefits. Incorporating daily exercise into my routine made me realize just how much taking care of my body impacted my mental health and overall happiness. It's not about being perfect or pushing yourself to extremes. It's about finding a form of movement you enjoy and making it a regular part of your life. So, if you're struggling to get started, I have a simple piece of advice. Start small. Find something you love, whether it's dancing, hiking, or even just a brisk walk. Commit to just a few minutes a day and gradually build from there. The benefits will be worth every bit of effort. This habit has the power to transform not just your body, but your entire outlook on life. Habit 3, journaling. Next up, journaling. Now, I used to think journaling was only for people who had loads of free time or who were naturally introspective. I was skeptical. I mean, who has time to sit down and write about their day when there is so much going on? But after 1 week of consistent journaling, my perspective completely shifted, and it became a cornerstone of my personal growth journey. I started simple, just 10 minutes a night before bed. I bought a plain notebook and a pen that felt comfortable in my hand. No fancy apps, no pressure to make it look pretty, just me and my thoughts. The first night, I stared at the blank page, unsure of what to write. But I started with something basic: how my day went, what made me happy, and what I struggled with. As the days went on, I began to dive deeper. I wrote about my goals, my fears, my dreams, even my insecurities. It was like having an ongoing conversation with myself, and that's when the magic started to unfold. I began noticing patterns in my thoughts and behaviors. I realized that some of the things I worried about were completely out of my control, while others were areas where I could take actionable steps. One night, I wrote about a particularly stressful day at work. By putting my thoughts on paper, I was able to process my emotions better. I reflected on what specifically stressed me out, how it made me feel, and what I could do differently next time. That simple act of reflection helped me gain clarity and feel more in control of my emotions. Another powerful aspect of journaling was tracking my progress. I made a note of small victories and milestones, no matter how minor they seemed. Looking back at those entries filled me with a sense of accomplishment and motivated me to keep pushing forward. For example, I wrote about a presentation I was nervous about and how I prepared for it. Seeing the positive outcome documented in my journal, it was incredibly encouraging. I even started a gratitude section where I wrote down 3 things I was grateful for every day. This practice shifted my focus from what was lacking in my life to appreciating what I already had. It was a simple yet profound shift that brought more positivity into my life. One particularly memorable entry was about a random act of kindness from a stranger. They helped me when I was struggling with my grocery bags, and writing about that moment not only made me feel grateful, but it also inspired me to pay it forward. Through journaling, I discovered so much about myself, my desires, my fears, my strengths, and my weaknesses. It became a form of therapy, a way to untangle the complex web of thoughts and emotions we all carry around. It provided a safe space to be completely honest with myself, free of judgment. If you've never tried journaling, I highly recommend giving it a go. Don't worry about writing perfectly or having profound thoughts. Just write whatever comes to mind. It could be a stream of consciousness, a recap of your day, or reflections on a specific event. Give yourself the freedom to express whatever you're feeling. You might be surprised at how much clarity and peace it brings into your life. Remember, it's not about what you write, it's about the process of writing itself. Habit 4. Mindful eating. Finally, mindful eating. This was a big one for me because, like many people, I used to eat on the go, barely paying attention to what I was consuming or how much. My meals were often rushed and distracted, eaten while scrolling through my phone or working on my laptop. I didn't realize how much this was affecting my overall well-being until I decided to give mindful eating a try for just 1 week. Mindful eating is all about paying full attention to the experience of eating and drinking, both inside and outside the body. It's about savoring each bite, noticing the flavors, textures, and even the sounds of your food. So, I made a commitment to eat all my meals mindfully. I began by setting the scene for my meals, clearing the dining table, setting a nice place for myself, and removing any distractions. No phone, no TV, no laptop. For example, the crunch of fresh vegetables and the sweetness of ripe fruit became so much more distinct. It felt as though I was experiencing food in high definition. Another significant change was how much more satisfied I felt after my meals. By eating slowly and mindfully, I gave my body the time it needed to signal when it was full. This was a huge shift for me, as I used to eat quickly and often found myself overeating. But by paying attention to my hunger and fullness cues, I naturally ate less and felt more satisfied. One particularly memorable experience was with a simple bowl of oatmeal. Normally, I would have devoured it without a second thought, but this time, I took it slow, savoring the creamy texture and the subtle sweetness of the honey I drizzled on top. It became a moment of gratitude and mindfulness that set a positive tone for the rest of my day. I also began noticing how different foods made me feel. Processed foods would leave me feeling sluggish and bloated, while fresh whole foods made me feel energized and light. This newfound awareness led me to naturally make healthier choices without feeling deprived or restricted. Another key aspect of mindful eating is being aware of the emotional connections we have with food. I started recognizing when I was eating out of boredom, stress, or as a form of emotional comfort rather than out of true hunger. This awareness was incredibly powerful. Instead of mindlessly snacking, I was able to address the underlying emotions. Maybe I just needed a break, some relaxation, or a chat with a friend, rather than reaching for a bag of chips. There was one evening when I had a craving for something sweet after dinner. Instead of automatically grabbing dessert, I paused and asked myself, am I really hungry or just seeking a reward after a long day? I realized I wasn't actually hungry, so I opted for a warm cup of herbal tea instead. It was a small victory that really showed me how powerful mindful eating can be. Incorporating mindful eating into my life has truly been transformative. It helped me develop a healthier relationship with food, improved my digestion, and even enhanced my overall sense of well-being. It's a habit that I've continued well beyond that initial week, and I can't recommend it enough. If you're interested in giving mindful eating a try, start with just one meal a day. Sit down with my distractions, take a few deep breaths, and savor each bite. Pay attention to the flavors, textures, and how the food makes you feel. You might be surprised at how this simple practice can change your entire eating experience. It's a beautiful way to reconnect with your body and truly appreciate the nourishment that food provides. Habit 5, limiting screen time. Now, let's talk about limiting screen time. This was definitely one of the more challenging habits for me, and I imagine it might be for many of you as well. We live in a digital world, and it's so easy to get sucked into endless hours of scrolling through social media, binge-watching shows, or checking emails. But I realized that all this screen time was taking a significant toll on my mental health, my productivity, and even my sleep. So, I decided to set some boundaries and see what happened. First, I set a daily limit of just 1 hour for non-work screen time. This meant no mindless scrolling through Instagram, no endless YouTube marathons, and no late-night TV binges. It was tough at first because I had become so accustomed to filling every spare moment with screen time, but I knew I needed to make a change. The first thing I noticed was how much more time I had in my day. I didn't realize how much of my time was being eaten up by screens until I consciously limited it. With those extra hours, I found myself rediscovering old hobbies and interests that I had neglected. I picked up a book I had been meaning to read, started doodling and drawing again, and even tried my hand at cooking new recipes. One evening, instead of watching TV after dinner, I decided to take a walk in the park. The fresh air, the sounds of nature, and the simple act of moving my body felt incredibly rejuvenating. It was a stark contrast to the usual screen-induced lethargy I felt. That walk became a cherished part of my daily routine, something I looked forward to and enjoyed immensely. Another huge change was in the quality of my sleep. I used to take my phone to bed, scrolling through social media or watching videos until I felt sleepy. But this habit often left me feeling wired and restless, which led to poor sleep. By limiting my screen time, especially before bed, I found it much easier to wind down and fall asleep. I started a bedtime routine that didn't involve screens and essentially restricted my sleep. This change led to deeper, more restful sleep and made a huge difference in my overall energy levels. I also noticed improvements in my mental health. Without the constant barrage of news updates, social media comparisons, and digital distractions, I felt less anxious and more present. I was more focused during conversations, more attentive to the people around me, and more engaged in my daily activities. It was as though a fog had lifted, allowing me to see and experience life more clearly. One particularly memorable day was when I spent an entire afternoon at a local cafe with just a notebook and a pen. I wrote down my thoughts, planned some goals, and even sketched a bit. It was such a peaceful and productive time, free from digital interruptions. I felt more connected to myself and my surroundings in a way that screens had never allowed. Of course, there were moments of temptation and slips along the way, but each time I noticed myself reaching for my phone out of habit, I gently reminded myself of the benefits I was experiencing and redirected my focus to something more fulfilling. Limiting screen time is not about completely eliminating technology from your life. It's about creating a healthier balance and being more intentional with your time. If you're feeling overwhelmed or disconnected, I encourage you to try setting some screen time boundaries. Start small, maybe with an hour less each day, and gradually increase it. Use that extra time to reconnect with yourself, your loved ones, and the world around you. You might be surprised at how much richer and more fulfilling life can be when you step away from the screens and engage more with the real world. And with that, we wrap up our journey through the 7 habits that dramatically changed my life in just 1 week. It's been an incredible experience, not just implementing these habits, but also sharing them with you. Each of these habits has the power to create significant positive changes in your life. And I truly believe that if they worked for me, they can work for anyone. If you've been inspired by any of these habits, I encourage you to try them out for yourself. Start small, maybe with just one habit, and see how it feels. Adjust according to what suits your lifestyle and needs. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. It's about making small, manageable changes that accumulate into substantial transformations over time. I'd love to hear about your experiences, so please drop a comment below sharing which habit you're thinking of adopting or any questions you might have about starting. Your feedback and stories are what make this community so amazing and supportive. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss any of our future content. We have lots more insights and tips coming your way that you won't want to miss, and sharing this video with friends or family who might benefit from these habits could make a huge difference in their lives. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, small changes lead to big results. Let's keep growing, keep evolving, and turn our everyday routines into powerful moments of self-improvement. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more insightful content like this. Remember, the relationships we build are reflections of the energy we put into them. Let's elevate those connections and make them truly meaningful. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of content that could change the way you connect with the world around you. Together, let's continue to grow, reflect, and live with peace, power, and purpose.